Okay, scary shit. Is this book scary?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to episode 130 of The Horror of Babylon, where we reluctantly discuss Rattlesnakes by Stephen King. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Oh my god, Ryan. You're all grown up. Look how tall you are.
Yep.
I'm sorry. It's out of my system. Hi.
It's not out of your system.
It'll never be out of my system.
Speaking of people who'll never be out of my system, thank you to our patrons, including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben the Fourth, Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yo.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. You can visit their new pop-up shop on Rattlesnake Key in Florida, and where you will find a very cranky and very sunburned Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas. Yeah. Trigger warning. Death of a child, death of children, snakes, violence on animals in Florida.
Remarrying your ex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I had a literal nightmare about. Well, it wasn't quite it was a very melancholic dream. I had a dream I married my ex-wife again the day before I started this book.
Spooky.
Yeah. I think this Cujo Stephen King binge has just kind of fucked me up psychologically.
After the Wind Through the Keyhole, we'll get a little break.
Yeah. So.
And the Wind Through. So I'm only about a third of the way into the Wind Through the Keyhole, but it's much less traumatic.
Yeah. No, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a brand new book. It came out this past Tuesday. We're recording on Friday. What I wanted to speak about in the history section is, I think, Rattlesnakes, with the only exception of the Salem's Lot movie, is the one thing that we've talked about covering the longest and have been waiting for the longest.
What would be third, the Dairy Show?
Yeah, probably. But since we started the show, we've kept an eye out for new things coming out, and be like, oh, we'll cover that when that comes out.
Yeah.
And this one has been the one we've waited for the longest, except for that stupid Salem's Lot movie.
Yep.
And we finally got to read it. Yay.
The vampires are pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Okay, background. Rattlesnakes was published in the story collection You Like It Darker. It is a novella. The audiobook is read by one Stephen King. It was released on May 21st, 2024. We're recording this episode on May 24th, 2024, so just 3 days later. The descriptor that we got when the publication was announced was Serving as a sequel to King's 1981 novel Cujo, this tale follows a grieving widower who, in search of solace, travels to Florida, his first mistake. However, his journey takes an unexpected turn when he receives a peculiar inheritance accompanied by significant conditions. That does not do anything to describe this story.
Weren't we just talking about going to Florida?
Yes.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Well, we're not doing it to forget about our dead wives.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think it does a good job of enticing, like, longtime Stephen King fans.
Yeah, but
without giving away too much.
it only needed 2 words for that. Sequel Cujo.
Yeah.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Let's jump into structure and themes. And the first thing I just want to mention is the title of this story collection is You Like It Darker. And on the back, I picked up a physical edition at Walmart and was looking at it. And on the back of it, there's a quote from Stephen King that says, "You like it darker? Well, so do I." And it's like, here you go. And he's had this reputation that in recent years he's writing like less horror. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if like this, I haven't read any of the other stories yet, but I'm wondering if this story collection is like, oh, you liked it better when I wrote horror, huh? Well, here you fucking go. Do you have any thoughts on that?
When I read the title, I didn't read the back because I haven't gotten a physical edition yet. But I kind of assumed that the title was something along those lines, was like, how dark can I possibly write something? Especially when I heard, like, one of these is a sequel to Cujo, which, I knew the ending of before I ever read it. And that's one of the darker endings for a Stephen King book. So I just kind of assumed it was going to be in that direction where Stephen King's just going to be like, I still got it.
I'm also curious if they're all related to Florida, because
I kind of hope so.
The cover is like, you look at it and it's an island, but then you look closer at it and it's an alligator head with palm trees on it.
Weren't we just talking about Stephen King doing his own Lake Placid at some point?
Yeah, we were.
So maybe he does it in this.
If there is a giant alligator story in here, we'll do an episode on it. Yeah.
Another good thing about having a short story collection is when we need content, we can go, hey, what have we not covered and You Like It Darker?
Yeah, we've got 11 more potential episodes in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
If any of them are something like this, I don't want to do it.
No. So the first thing I wanted to mention about the actual story is that I think one of the brilliant things about this story is that if it wasn't a sequel to Cujo, it would still be a good story. Like, if the main character wasn't Vic Trenton...
And it was just a widower...
It would absolutely work.
Yeah.
But because it is Vic Trenton...
It does help.
Yeah, it makes it so much deeper.
Especially if you read them back to back.
Oh my god. Do not recommend. This... If you haven't read this yet, it's horrific.
Just so you know, I'm going to keep sending you my nightmares until they stop.
This book broke my heart multiple times and actually scared me on several different parts of the story. It was... Yeah. It's intense. Okay, so what did you think about the structure of the book?
I was surprised it was in first person, just because Cujo wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it.
No, it took a little bit of adjustment, but I got used to it quickly.
Yeah. That's about my only thought on the structure was, oh, that's a choice. It's fine.
Well, it's unique for him because it's completely from one character.
Yeah. Even,
like, stories that are central on one character, like Misery or some of the dark... Or, like, even, like, Roland's stuff, like, they still jump around to other characters.
Yeah, and they're never from, like, first person. It's an omniscient character.
Omniscient third person,
doing character perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure... God, I'm trying to think if I've read any more of his from a first-person perspective.
Not that I know of. But maybe, like, a random short story, but...
Yeah, so... I mean, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all my thoughts on the structure.
What did you think on the length? Did you think it was...
I feel that if he really... Okay. I think that the length was pretty much perfect. I feel if he really wanted to, he could have turned it into like a whole book.
I feel like there's enough of a story that it could have been a novel, but
that's my thought.
it may have been, okay, this would have been so much better as a novella or a long short story.
I feel like there are like he probably could have like written like a slow burn sort of Pet Sematary-esque. He's getting to know this woman.
Yeah.
She's a little bit weird, and then she doesn't die as soon. Because like he meets her twice and she dies. But I kind of feel like that works better with the suddenness of all of the stuff that happens in this story.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I feel like he could have turned this into a book if he really wanted to, but I feel that the story he wanted to tell is more conducive to a short story or a novella length.
I think it's technically a novella.
Yeah.
So
So
I agree. I would like to see an alternate reality where this was a full novel, because I would absolutely read that.
yeah, I would read it, but
I can see it maybe being worse, but
I feel there were times where I go, you could probably even have made it shorter. And there were times where I was like, I kind of want some more. So that just tells me that the length was probably perfect.
yeah, probably.
Or as close to as you can get.
Okay, so themes. The biggest one is loss.
I was going to say hurt. Because the book hurt me.
Yeah, I mean, loss as in the piece of my heart that died when I finished this book.
Yeah.
Vic has lost, Donna has lost Tad. He meets Allie Bell, who has lost her husband and her 2 kids.
And then he loses her cookies.
Oh no. The theme of loss is very integral to this story.
Yeah.
It obviously snakes.
Yeah. I don't know where to put this.
Just say it here.
I had a theory, like, when I was first listening to and I ended up being 100% wrong. It was just an early on theory of, like, what was going on.
Yep.
I was like, okay, there's 2 or 3 possible things going on. One of them, he's just going cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
Full telltale heart, because that seems to be a heavy inspiration for this story.
Yeah.
Number 2, he's being haunted by the dead kids who didn't get to live their lives. I thought he was going to be literally haunted by the snakes that were just being snakes that were burned alive.
Ooh.
That was my theory, was that it was going to end up just being the snakes are pissed that you burned them alive for being snakes.
Yeah.
I was wrong, but...
It does a good job of showing how the characters villainize the snakes, but the author doesn't villainize the snakes.
Yeah.
Which is a very hard line to walk, I think.
Yeah. You also kind of, if you have an infestation of very dangerous, it's like if you had an infestation of rabid bats, you have to do something.
Yeah, I'm not saying that killing a bunch of rattlesnakes after they've killed 2 toddlers is wrong. I'm saying that you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's us or them, then sure, yeah, it's us.
Which sort of ties into it's not like the heaviest theme in here, but there's like a underlying message of environmentalism and like humans encroaching on animal territory.
But at the same time, that imagery of, dozens of people hitting the bushwhacking and all these snakes to the water and then splashing them with kerosene and setting them on fire, that can't be really viewed as positive in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to burn the clothes.
Yeah.
Nothing would get the smell out.
There's a whole episode of The Simpsons from like season 2 where they used to have a holiday in Springfield called Snake Bashing Day, where everybody would just go out and kill snakes, and until Lisa was like, hey, this is wrong. They're just snakes. And then also, just the obviousness of snakes are scary. It's another story where he takes a real fear that real people have, like a daily fear, and marries it with something supernatural and just makes it...
It's one of the most common phobias. I thought it was a smart choice, but he took how we've been talking about adult fear and how that, like, we're older now, so that's the shit that scares us. It's like loss of a child.
Yeah.
And he marries it with a common phobia.
Yeah.
Which is snakes.
And then marries it with ghosts.
And then ghosts. So what's the story, like I talked about last time, what's the story really about? The story is about loss and grieving and not being able to let go.
Right.
How does he do that? Ghost of children that are mad they didn't get to live their childhood.
I have kind of a weird relationship with snakes. Ever since I was a kid, I really like them, but I'm also really scared of them.
Same.
Yeah.
I like to watch them on videos.
I am absolutely okay if I see it. It's like I've been at zoos or places where they'll hold the snakes and you can pet them.
That's too much for me.
I can do that. The thing that scares me about snakes, the most recurring nightmare I ever had as a kid was a snake under the bed. Like, you get out of bed and it bites your ankle.
I still have dreams where snakes are just like all over my yard and I'm trying to avoid them.
Yeah. Ooh. So I have a love-hate relationship with them, and this was the scene where Josh and Jack,
I think,
where they get out of their backyard and go to the beach. It was hard.
I even like the one of them that got me was just a hand rising up out of a pit of snakes that's just in your bathtub.
Yeah, that was bad.
If I saw that, I would probably die.
I would absolutely die.
I would have the heart attack there.
I would, yes, I would just die. Especially if I was 70, whatever.
You know how... I guess this is... No, I'm going to save this for scary shit. Okay, where were we? We're still under structure and themes, aren't we?
Yeah, earworms is another thing.
Thoughts that just get in your head.
Yeah, I mean, earworms, like, a lot of people will... is like a song, when a song or a phrase or something gets stuck in your head. And there's two, like one, the squeaking of the stroller wheel, and then also the chanting that the little boys do.
Roll us, dress us.
Oh, God.
I'm just gonna pay Emma to come do that right next to you while you're sleeping.
It was so scary.
It was pretty bad. I thought that was pretty bad. It also reminds me of, like, intrusive thoughts. Like, if you've ever had, like, a dark or random thought, and you're like, where the heck did that come from?
Yeah, like...
And then it won't leave you be.
Like, you're driving down the road, and you see a little kid on their tricycle on the sidewalk, and you're like, I could just jerk my wheel and run them over.
It just hits you in the head, and you're like, why would I think
Why
that?
would I think that? Because people just have dark, terrible thoughts. It's what you do that matters.
Yeah. One of the things that drives me crazy is when people pretend like they don't. I'm like, listen, I've heard you talk in private. I know that these things happen.
Yeah.
They just pop it. But that's what that reminded me of, too, was like these dark, intrusive thoughts. Mm-hmm. Just building, like, almost like a psychosis.
And I loved how they made him think it so it became his own thought. So he was hearing it in his own voice.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sure if he was actually going crazy or not. Okay. Takes place in, like, April, May of 2020, so obviously COVID is a big theme.
Hiya! Happy Easter!
I find this sort of funny, because I follow Stephen King on Twitter. I think you did too when you had one, and we follow him on the Horror Babylon.
Yep.
About a year ago, he made a post going, hey, why don't writers, like, put COVID in their books? Like, he asked. And a lot of the answers were, like, well, some people are writing for escapism. Mm-hmm. Some people are trying to write in ways to where it's not going to date a story. Mm-hmm. So that even if it takes place in a certain time, you won't, like, if you didn't grow up when, like, the COVID epidemic happened, you'll be able to relate to, like, just people acting like people. And he got a bunch of different answers, and now, like, looking at, like, when he was writing this book and now reading this, I'm like, oh, that's probably why he asked. Because he was literally doing it and seeing that no one was doing it.
This is actually the second horror novel I've read. The first one was the Kaiju Preservation Society, which
it's still on my list.
Yeah, that one takes place during the COVID pandemic, and COVID is a big theme in it. But yeah, it's not.
Don't got the VIT, do ya?
It's not a super popular thing. I think in the next 10 years it will be, but it isn't right now. Maybe just because it's so fresh.
I think the things that we'll still see will be things like masks. I think we'll see it as an inspiration. But like literally name dropping Dr. Fauci is probably going to be phased out.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm just like I personally wouldn't have cared, but I'm just glad he didn't like use it as a political platform to like bash. I mean, there's like tongue-in-cheek political things in this story.
But not as much as it's like Twitter posts.
Yeah, but it's not like it's just like a book of him bashing Trump or something like that.
And I you know what, I actually kind of appreciated Trump's. Trump doesn't have restraint. King's restraint.
Yeah, which because he is very political and he easily could have used this book to do that.
I think it would have been super distracting.
It would have been, yeah.
And I think that the story's better served with it being kind of like an underlying theme.
What I liked about it is he uses it as like the storm that cuts you off on the island.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're in the cabin in the woods, you're on the island, the bridge is out, you can't leave.
It's a very, you know, like thinking back, like we couldn't do crap when it first, like things
Those
first
first few
started
months,
trying to get down. Yeah. I miss driving to work and there being nobody on the
Yeah.
road. I was going like 95, going, hey, I got to work in 5 minutes. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but you know.
Yeah.
But there's no one on the road. Mm-hmm. I'm just, and you know, I have horrible social anxiety anyway, so I'm like, man, this is great.
So, and then that kind of ties into the last one I wrote down was just kind of Stephen King's views on Florida. Because he does a lot of like talking about the old money and how there's the kind of a disappearing middle class in Florida and the environmental aspects that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Because, you know, Stephen King would probably hate me if he knew my political views. But, like, when I listen to his on this, I'm like, you know what, there's fair points. Mm-hmm. And it's not, he writes it in such a way to where it's, like, not intrusive.
Yeah.
In the narrative.
Yeah.
But you still get the point.
Yeah, and it's not, like, hard left ranting. It's just, here's a little bit of my thoughts and how it could relate to this story.
Yeah. And we, because we've read some stuff that's a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But this, I actually I really dug.
Yeah. Okay, anything else under structure and themes?
I don't think so. I think
I mean, just maybe ghosts. It's a ghost story.
It is a ghost story.
We haven't done a lot of straight up ghost stories.
I already said it was really influenced by The Telltale Heart.
Yeah. I should mention that under earworms.
Yeah, because I don't know how many... I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you've probably read Poe.
Yeah.
And that's one of his more well-known stories. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know... somebody dies, there's a police officer who's suspicious of you, and you're just hearing something. Only in this case, the guy's innocent.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is being God, I can't talk tonight.
It's fine. The story fucks you up.
Yeah. Being an innocent suspect, like that was a huge part of the story.
And I still think you got away with something.
Oh, I was mad. I was so mad. It was like, this Vic Trenton has suffered so much, dude. Fuck off.
I agree, but like from an outside...
From the cop's perspective, I totally...
Like, this is super suspicious.
It is. I mean, it really is.
This woman had like $14 million worth of assets, gave it to a guy she met 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I would be suspicious.
I would be too, and I get it, but I can't divorce myself from what I know.
Yeah, because we're the outsiders looking in, or we're the readers.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's go to characters, and let's talk about the guy we relate to but think he's an idiot, or at least we thought he was a couple weeks ago. Vic Trenton. Is he still an idiot?
He's less of an idiot.
He's a wiser idiot.
He even talks about how, like, time gives you all you need to, like, heal that kind of hurt. Like, it doesn't go away, but he's like, yeah, you just have to let the scars close up first.
I really like to know if there's, like, any tie-ins to King's personal life, because, you know, when he wrote Vic Trenton the first time, he was that age, and now he's writing Vic Trenton the second time, and he's this age.
Yeah.
And I just wonder... I don't know, did his wife have a little something on the side and they got through it and this is him kind of processing it, or?
Maybe. I don't want to... I'm going to say, as a guy who has been through this kind of stuff, that it reads like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to blame me because you can't blame the universe. I'm like, okay, King, I need you to stop attacking me for a little bit so I can enjoy the story.
I always, both times I read Cujo, it always struck me as a little weird that he implies that they stay together. And I really liked how it shook out and how you learned what happened. Because, like, it never made sense to me that they could both survive that trauma and not be damaged and that not affect their relationship negatively, the adultery aside. And then, but they take a 20-year break from each other and they come back. I'm like, okay, so
yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah. But you have a guy who was an idiot and just has had more time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because I mentioned this book when we were talking about Cujo, he flat out name drops a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
As it relates to his life.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, so he gets it.
Yep. That was funny. I laughed out loud. It was the only time I laughed during this book.
I was so happy. I'm like, oh, me and Ryan are so observant and smart.
Yay. I just enjoyed being in Vic's head for the whole book. Like, even when bad things were happening, I liked how he interacted with other people. I liked his views on other people.
It makes me want to try to write something in first person.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way some things roll off the tongue, and then you can just let people think what they want to think about other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, then I don't have to worry about other characters' perspectives either.
Yeah.
No. I don't have a lot more to say on Vic. I feel kind of bad for him that he got a realistic Stephen King horror story and a supernatural one in his lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, he got $500,000 and back pain for the rest of his life.
Yeah. I guess he should be thankful that he got it done with in a few days, as opposed to like Salem's Lost characters who really kind of had to drag through it for weeks and then come back years later to burn out of town.
Ugh, it's terrible. I think I'd rather not have the money and just not have those things happen.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings on that, but we'll get to it in the scary shit.
Okay. Allie Bell. Okay,
so I'm only going to use politically terms because I think it just explains my viewpoint on this character the best. She is the right kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like written wise.
Okay.
Like in terms of people with actual mental health issues that I have dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close. And then it turns out she's actually has something going on. Makes me nervous.
All those crazy people aren't crazy. They're just haunted by the ghosts of their dead children.
Maybe the patient I had who wanted to chase the little people out of his room.
There's actual little people in his room.
Yeah.
It's the underwear gnomes that come every night.
Yes. Every once in a while, when you work in mental health, like you'll see or hear something that just strikes you as eerie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to explain it away logically because of like the person's trauma or you're not supposed to feed into Vic does because he's just trying to be polite and he's not her caretaker.
Right.
But that's what it reminded me of, was like something eerie that I've had to personally deal with that I have to explain away logically. So I feel bad for her.
Yeah. Very sad. Very, very terrible death.
Yeah.
It's a very hard scene. But we can talk about that more in scary shit. The boys.
I hate them.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What was the line? Like, something can be a monster but also be tragic at the same time. Like he
Because he's explaining they're innocent, like they.
But they're also monsters.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact line, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, where he's like, they're children with the wills of men.
Who's the director? Kubrick.
Yeah.
This is his ultimate revenge on Stanley Kubrick for the Shining movie.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you thought you made some super scary twins, huh? Well, hold my beer.
I really want to see somebody try to do these twins.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it.
And scary shit.
Yeah, a movie like version of this and scary shit, but yeah, we'll just come back to the boys and scary. Okay, so the last character that I wrote down was Deputy Pelly.
He's the asshole. I understand why he's an asshole.
Yeah. I get it. Like, I get where he's coming from, but he also just kind of, like, he's semi-retired, but he definitely acts like he's not retired. And that kind of irritated me, and I don't really have, like, a reason why. I think that's probably a personal bias.
It probably is, because that's how semi-retired cops act.
Yeah.
Especially semi-retired detectives.
Mm-hmm.
It's also how... It's a stereotype, but Stephen King is okay. He writes stereotypes, he just writes them well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how...
Sometimes.
Okay, yeah, sometimes. N-words aside.
Yeah. You can do it! You wrote a whole story without the N-word, and it was good! Yay!
He wrote a... This is how most retired detectives are written. You just can't take the cop out of the man.
I just got so irritated when he would just, like, come over to talk to Vic, and Vic's like, do you have a reason to be here? You can't just come and ask me questions because you feel like it.
Which is it's a way to catch people off guard. I love that. Vic must read a lot of detective novels because he was a little genre savvy. He's like, take your phone out of your pocket.
He mentioned an author he was reading, and I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
So it may have been...
So, and he's like, he's recognizing, like, oh, he's trying...
Did he say John Grisham?
Maybe.
I know the name. What kind of books does he write? Novelist, lawyer...
So he probably writes...
Like, legal stuff?
Legal fictionese.
Legal thrillers.
Yeah, so...
Okay. Which would involve cops.
And a lot of the things that he just did and said were very copy.
Yeah.
Or detective-y.
Yeah.
So...
I guess the icing on the cake was he just had to be a child about it at the end. Which, I do understand. Like, it's 100% super suspicious. If I were in his position, I would think something was up too.
In a longer Stephen King book, he would have died because of the twins.
Yeah.
Like, he would have still been suspicious, but he would have kept noticing things like the stroller's not in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Which, one of my favorite parts of the book, not my favorite, but one of them, was... He saw it. I know he saw it. He just can't admit it to himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be sucking this book off for a while. This story off for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Okay, scary shit. Is this book scary?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
You know how I always talk about how I want to experience something supernatural?
Not anymore.
No, I still do.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I envision it, it's this exact level of it, minus the ending, where it starts to get, like, really, like, super hallucinogen-y.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you catch just a quick glimpse of them, and then they disappear, but the blankets are unfolded.
Ugh.
Or you see just you hear the thing moving, and I'm like, this is the exact level that if I ever do get to experience something supernatural, this is what I expect, but now I know it will kill me.
Yeah, I worry about my heart in situations like this. So I was listening to the dishes. I was listening to the book while doing the dishes, and it got to the part where he finds Allie with the buzzards.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my heart was going to beat out of my chest.
That's scary. That's scary enough.
Yeah.
And then it kind of has like a good escalation of fear factors, in both realistic fears, like you're grieving and you don't know how to deal with it. Oh, you've just met another person that had dead children. Oh, that's wonderful. That's gonna make my day great.
Mm-hmm.
At least she made good cookies.
Yeah. Oatmeal raisin.
But then you get the slow buildup of the supernatural stuff, and I think it's, again, like, minus the ending where it like really goes hardcore into it. I don't think the ending's bad. I just don't think it's as scary as like those brief glimpses.
The ending was the one thing I had reservations about, but I also don't have like, I don't know how else I would have preferred it.
Yeah. I just don't think the ending was scary compared to everything else that I got.
Right.
Like, just squeaky wheels in a house that you know is empty.
Yeah.
It's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
Seeing a glimpse of somebody that you know is dead sitting in a chair, even for a second, is kind of spooky. Now it's grown up dead children with child faces that are swollen with poison, which is just weird and uncanny enough to give you a heart attack.
When he was describing that and he said that their heads were bloated like pumpkins, I had to stop.
Yeah.
I paused the book. I was like, I need a break.
That is just scary enough. And then they say something to you and then disappear. That's the level I want. That if I ever happens to me, I expect to get, but now I know I will die.
Yeah. Something I loved was his sleeplessness and the nightmares that he has, and it brought me back to one of my favorite lines from Pet Sematary, which is it's something like, the old sleep poorly, perhaps they stand watch.
Yeah.
Because when Lewis is looking out and Judd is on the porch, because Judd doesn't sleep well. Obviously, there's, like Cujo, maybe more than Cujo, this book has a lot of similarities to Pet Sematary.
I thought about Pet Sematary. I couldn't remember if the line was in the book or if it was just in the movie. Whenever what's the guy's name, the main character of Pet Sematary? Lewis. When he kills Church and he starts screaming, "Be dead." That's how I thought he was thinking about these kids the whole time. Is like, just go be dead.
I don't remember if it's in the book or not.
Yeah. But that's the scene that came to mind whenever he was trying to get rid of them. Like, yeah, you're dead. Just be dead. And then another thing that I thought was like a realistic fear, especially having been so close to people when they are dying, especially over my past couple of years of working in healthcare, is when his wife's dying and she just screams, "Oh my God, you're all grown up." That's a realistic. That would freak me out too.
That one, that took me back to another Stephen King sequel that had decades between the original, Dr. Sleep, where a grown-up Danny Torrance is working in a nursing home and is known for helping the elderly patients die comfortably.
Yeah.
So, also a lot of similarities between Dr. Sleep and this story as well. Oof.
So, yeah. Snakes are scary.
Snakes are scary. The scene where the two kids die is horrific.
I think one of the biggest fears around snakes is a lot of it stems from when you see a snake and you don't know if it's a poisonous one or not. Because a lot of people just really don't know how to identify snakes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better these days, but like, you're out doing yard work and a snake comes by you. You jump because you don't identify it right away.
I mean, I was raised, like, we grew up in the woods and my dad made sure I knew which ones were which, so, but I could understand that if I didn't know.
Yeah, I grew up in a city.
And we don't have a lot of venomous snakes here in West Virginia. Copperheads and rattlesnakes, and both are pretty rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely understand, because if you don't know, just assume it is. It not like, even if it wasn't, you should leave it alone anyway.
Yeah.
But
the imagery of all those snakes burning is kind of disturbing too.
Yeah, that is awful. there's like this town collective like amnesia about exactly what year the Great Snake Hunt was. It's like, what year was it that we murdered all those animals? Was it 1982 or 1983? It's like they're forcing themselves to forget it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of what you do with grief.
Yeah. All right. It's scary. It's terrible. It's awful.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz. God, I don't even know.
My king is the twins in the bed, because that was what, because it was just such a build and escalation to that exact scene.
Yeah,
and then when you finally get it, I'm like, that's just about the perfect Stephen King scare.
I had to stop. I was like, I'm taking a 20-minute break. This is bad.
Because he just married it with realistic fears of losing children, building it up with fears of oh, now cops suspect I killed a woman and I'm being haunted at night and it's getting weirder and their shadows are following me, and then you finally get the reveal. It's the perfect reveal, and I cannot think of an example that I think he has done the reveal better in.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah. There's also some recency bias to this because I did just listen to this.
Yeah.
But that's what stuck out the most for me, and I was like, I was going, no. I didn't stop, but I was going, oh man.
I had to be done for a little bit. It was making I was having chest pains. I was like, this is a lot. Granted, I have been sick and under some stress recently, so that didn't help. But
if you and I experience something supernatural at the same time, we're both going to die.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Ugh. I'm not really sure. There's so many things that could be my Koontz or my king. I guess just how scary it was. This is.
Is it a very scary skink?
It's a very scary skink. The stinking
King story.
Okay, in Koontz.
Just because I have to list something, the ending, because just compared to how scary everything else was around it.
Yeah,
it kind of sticks out a little bit more.
I'm also saying the ending. I didn't hate it or even really dislike it.
It's just.
And I can't give a suggestion as to how it would have been better. It just...
Yeah,
it didn't live up to the rest of it.
Compared to the stomach-churning rest of the story.
I do think the way to end it is with him destroying the stroller. Yeah. Absolutely. And with the way they build up Doomakey and the whirlpool, I think that's how you do it. I guess the execution of how it's done...
Yeah. And even when it started, whenever he's like, hey, do you guys want to go for a ride?
That was scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it just...
Do you want to go to the beach? Yes, Daddy. Yes.
Ugh. Yeah. So just I don't know where it lost me in terms of the scare versus the entertainment factor, but that's where it was.
Yeah. So. Ranking, I ranked it pretty high.
I'm also probably gonna rank it pretty high.
I have it at my number 5.
Okay.
Below Cujo and above No Be So Fierce. I could see a world where I put it above Cujo. Honestly, I think the reason Cujo is higher is because I've read it twice and it's longer, and you're kind of forced to live in that dreadful, dismal world even longer than you are in Rattlesnakes. But I almost made time to read Rattlesnakes twice for tonight, and I could see maybe on rereads liking it even more.
Yeah. Where's my Cujo ranking here?
16.
I am putting it above Cujo, but I want to see how many points above Cujo. Oh man. I think it's going to be in my top 10.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to put it right above The Mist.
It's your new number 6, below Dracula and above the Mist.
And the reason for that is because Donna died first. I'm sorry. No, it's just, I get like the realistic adult fears of Cujo plus the supernatural shit I like.
Yeah. And like there's supernatural stuff in Cujo too, but it's all nothing directly happens with Frank Dodd's ghost.
And yeah, so
and this is direct contact with a supernatural entity.
And the build up for it is just about perfect. And unlike The Mist, this, even though I'm not like hype on the ending, it has a definitive ending.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm going to put it right above The Mist.
So it made it to my top 5 and your top 6.
Yeah.
Out of 42 books.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Stein.
Hello, Mr. Black.
Who's that?
He's the new drama teacher.
Okay, so Zombie Day, there were several. There were probably some that I didn't catch because I have not read Doohickey. But Doohickey is a Stephen King novel and is mentioned frequently. This story takes place on Rattlesnake Key, which is adjacent to, or was adjacent to Doohickey. Because apparently Doohickey sinks into the sea at the end of that book, so spoilers for Doohickey.
I'm sure I'll forget by the time I read it.
Yeah. This definitely made me want to read Doohickey. And then also we find out that Tad is buried in Harmony Hill Cemetery, which is the cemetery in Salem's Lot.
Huh. Wait a minute. Well, he definitely can't visit them now.
If they're on the same path of the beam.
Oh yeah, there's other worlds than these.
Yeah. As far as I know, Cujo and Salem's Lot could be on the same path of the beam. Cujo and Pet Sematary are on the same path of the beam. Is there anything that ties Salem's Lot and Pet Sematary? Probably.
He should have visited while he had the chance. He's gonna.
The Rachel drives past Salem's Lot on the way back.
We're gonna get a third Cujo sequel where he finally goes to visit Tad's grave.
No.
And he has to deal with vampires.
No. Let's let Vic Trenton be. If anything, just give us like a Twitter epilogue where it's like, and he lived happily ever after. He got some real good shit for his back, and he was fine.
Stephen King's gonna listen to our podcast and go, ooh, idea.
No. All right, homework. How would you dispose of 2 psychotic toddler ghosts?
I wouldn't. I would die. I would have had the heart attack right there.
Yeah, that's probably what would happen to me.
Like, best case scenario, I would have gone like full H.P. Lovecraft, driven mad by the sight.
Yeah.
Like clawing my face mad.
If I didn't die, the most rational thing I probably would have done is burn the house down.
Yeah. Maybe I would have burned the stroller, because that was my thought, was like, hey, have you tried burning it?
He was probably just like, that never works in the movie, so I'll just skip that. Okay, so for further reading, I've already mentioned Dr. Sleep, which is Stephen King's sequel to The Shining. There's a lot of similarities, not just in that they're sequels that were written decades after the original, but for those who've read Dr. Sleep, they'll see it. A short story, Lullaby by Jonathan Mayberry, about a haunted crib. It used to be free on Audible. I don't know if it still is, but it scared me stupid when I read it a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then this last one, I have not read this, but it's a novel called The Pram by Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son. So just, here's another, this one's also about a pram, and it's written by Stephen King's son, so.
And of course, Cujo.
Yeah. And Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
And honestly, The Shining, too, if you just like Stephen King ghost stories. Upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, next Sunday, our Summer of Goosebumps starts with our very first, not the first Goosebumps book we have covered, but the first one that we're covering this summer. We're reading Goosebumps Night of the Living Dummy by R.L. Stine. And then the next Sunday, June 23rd, we are doing a watch-along of the adaptation of Night of the Living Dummy from the 2023 Goosebumps series, because the 1990s Goosebumps series never adapted the original Night of the Living Dummy.
Just so odd.
Yeah, really weird. And then our next 2 bonus episodes on Thursday, June 13th, we're watching An American Werewolf in Paris. And then on June 20th, we are watching the J-horror film House from 1977.
I am excited for House.
It's been on my to-watch list for a very long time. And speaking
of houses
and watching lists,
the House of Abigail,
Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, the House of Dragons, I get it.
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben the Fourth, Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. I'm gonna have a real sword one day.
Yeah, we'll eventually get like the Keyblade sound effects.
Yeah. Ooh, I never thought of that.
I just thought you didn't want to do it.
No, never occurred to me. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, and condolences to the location they lost on Duma Key when it sank into the sea. But you can still, into the Gulf of Mexico. But you can still visit their other locations at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can also shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it in the store, say hello to the proprietor, Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas. He smells like shark
Sand.
bait.
I like your answer better.
Yes. All right.
Smells like burning snakes.
We're all done with the Trentons for hopefully forever.
Until he goes to Salem's Lot.
So let's let Vic and Donna and Tad rest. Thank you for reading Rattlesnakes and recording with me tonight.
Hooray.
Yay. Thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/The Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.